professor,
Okay.
and a viral video that has everyone talking.
Yeah, I actually saw this one.
Oh, you did?
Wild.
Wild, right?
Yeah.
So the basics, just to set the scene, we're at Nanandi Azikiwe University.
Unizik.
Unizik, yeah, you got it.
Everyone calls it that.
Everyone calls it that, right?
Yeah.
Student posts to TikTok using a filter. Pretty standard stuff these days.
You see them all the time.
Right. Like, who doesn't use filters?
Right.
But then her professor, Joseph Okeke, sees the video and things escalate. It gets heated. There's an altercation.
Oh, wow.
And someone catches the whole thing on video.
Oh, no.
Which, of course, goes viral.
Of course.
The internet, right?
Yep.
So that's where we're starting. A filter, a confrontation, whole lot of questions.
I'm hooked already.
Right. Because, like, what on earth could have happened to get a filter?
Yeah.
Because that kind of reaction.
It's a filter.
And what does this whole thing tell us about, I don't know, the relationship between students and professors in Nigerian universities?
That's a big one.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Okay.
Maybe you can walk us through the video itself?
Sure.
Like, what kind of filter are we even talking about here?
So from what I've seen and from what's been reported,
Yeah.
it seems like it was a pretty standard beauty filter, you know,
Okay.
the kind that smooths your skin, makes your eyes look bigger,
Right.
that sort of thing.
Makes you look, a little more, I don't know.
Airbrushed,
Yeah.
enhanced.
Enhanced, exactly.
Yeah.
And what was Professor Ike's reaction like? What can we see in the video?
Well, that's where it gets a bit murky, you know. The video itself is pretty chaotic.
Okay.
It's hard to make out exactly what's being said. There's a lot of shouting.
Oh, okay.
But from what I could gather, and also from interviews Professor Okege gave to some local news outlets afterwards,
Right.
he basically felt like the filter presented an image that was, in his words, disrespectful to the academic environment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he seemed to see it as a violation of some kind of unwritten code of conduct.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So it's not even about the specific content of the video. It's about the filter itself.
That's right. It's about the image she's presenting, or I guess the image he thinks she's presenting.
Yeah, it's all about perception, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about the aftermath.
Okay.
The fallout from this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this isn't just a disagreement between two people anymore. This is
It's blown up.
It's blown up.
Yeah.
What are the potential consequences, legally speaking, for both of them?
Well, I mean, legally speaking, things could get pretty serious for both the student and the professor.
Okay.
I mean, there's the possibility of assault charges against the professor,
Right.
depending on, how the altercation is officially classified.
Yep.
And on the flip side, the student could potentially countersue.
Right.
I mean, we've seen that kind of thing happen before in similar situations.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, of course, there's the university itself. They're almost certainly going to take some kind of disciplinary action. I mean, Unizik has a pretty strict code of conduct for both students and faculty.
Okay.
And regardless of who is ultimately deemed at fault here, this incident pretty clearly violates that code.
Wow. So this is real implications for their lives.
Absolutely. This is not going away anytime soon.
Right. And it kind of makes you wonder,
Yeah.
is this a one-off?
Right.
Or is this indicative of a bigger issue within Nigerian universities?
That's a good question.
Like, how common are these kinds of incidents? Do we know?
It's hard to say for sure. There's not really any, official data on student-professor altercations specifically.
Right.
But there is some interesting research out there that might shed some light on this.
Okay, tell me more.
So there's this organization called the Academic Freedom Observatory in Africa.
Okay.
And they've been tracking incidents like this, not just in Nigeria, but across the continent.
Interesting.
And their research actually shows that there's a growing trend of online conflicts, like the one we're talking about here, spilling over into offline spaces.
Oh, wow.
Like what starts online doesn't stay online.
Doesn't stay online, right?
Yeah, and this seems to be particularly prevalent in universities with, more traditional, stricter social norms.
So Unizik might not be an outlier here.
Exactly. It might actually be part of a larger pattern.
Wow. So this is really making me think about the whole concept of academic freedom.
Right.
What does that even mean in a context like this?
Yeah, that's a huge question.
And what are the norms, the expectations in Nigerian universities?
I mean, academic freedom in Nigeria, it's a complicated thing,
Sure.
It's like that in a lot of countries, actually.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's the right of teachers and students to express their views, to research what they want, to teach what they want, without fear of censorship or reprisal.
Right.
But the boundaries of that freedom, they're always being negotiated.
I bet.
And it gets even trickier when you bring online expression into the mix.
Oh, yeah.
Because, what happens when something you post online
Yeah.
is seen as, I don't know, incompatible with those traditional norms or with someone's interpretation of those norms?
Right.
It gets messy.
It does. It's It's a whole new world we're living in.
It really is.
With these technologies and these platforms.
Yeah.
And I also keep thinking about the student
Yeah.
at the center of all of this.
Absolutely.
I mean, just imagine you post a video, you're just trying to have some fun, maybe connect with friends online.
Right.
And suddenly
Blows up.
it blows up in your face.
Yeah.
You're in a confrontation with a professor.
It goes viral.
It goes viral. Everyone's talking about you.
Wow.
I can't even imagine the stress, the anxiety that would come with that.
It's got to be overwhelming.
Right.
Yeah.
And how do you think this whole incident will affect her experience going forward? I mean, will you even want to stay at Unizik after this?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say for sure, but it's definitely possible that this could have a lasting impact on her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could affect her academic performance, her relationships with other professors, even her social life on campus.
Yeah.
You know, the court of public opinion can be pretty harsh.
Oh, yeah.
And social media just adds this whole other layer of complexity to the situation.
It's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about, responsible social media use, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what seems like a harmless post in one context
Right.
can have huge unintended consequences in another.
Especially in a setting like a university
Yeah.
where there are these power dynamics at play.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about what we've seen,
Yeah.
about what's been reported.
Mm-hmm.
But, the cynic in me, I can't help but wonder,
Right.
is there more to this story than what we're seeing?
That's always a good question to ask.
Right? Because, all we have is this short video clip.
Snippet.
A snippet.
Yeah.
And people are already forming judgments based on that.
Yeah.
But what don't we know?
Exactly.
What happened before the camera started rolling?
Right. Was there any kind of history between the student and the professor?
Oh, okay.
What were the exact words exchanged? The video doesn't give us all that.
It doesn't.
And it's so crucial to consider all those perspectives, right?
Mm-hmm.
To gather as much information as possible before we jump to conclusions.
Right. And that's such an important point,
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the outrage, the drama.
The clickbait headlines.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But we really need to be critical. We need to be thoughtful about how we consume this kind of information,
Absolutely.
especially in the digital age.
Media literacy is more important than ever.
That's it. Media literacy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to kind of recap here.
Okay.
We've got a student, a TikTok video, a filter, a professor, a confrontation,
And a viral video.
and a viral video. Yeah.
That sparked a lot of conversation.
And a whole lot of questions about academic freedom, about social media, about power dynamics in Nigerian universities.
We've barely scratched the surface.
We've barely scratched the surface, and there are no easy answers here.
Definitely not.
But I think the big question now is, how do we move forward?
Yeah.
How should universities navigate this intersection of technology, social media, and academic freedom?
It's the question of the moment, isn't it?
It really is.
This incident at Unizik, it feels like just the tip of the iceberg. Like this is just the beginning
Yeah.
of a much bigger conversation.
And what do you think? What are some potential solutions?
Well, I think universities need to start by establishing really clear guidelines for online conduct,
Okay.
for both students and faculty.
Right.
But at the same time, they need to be really careful to protect academic freedom.
Right.
We don't want to stifle expression.
Absolutely not.
It's about finding that balance.
Finding that balance, right?
Yeah, and I think, maybe workshops, training sessions on digital literacy could be helpful for both students and faculty.
Yeah, I like that.
And also, training on conflict resolution.
Interesting.
Because sometimes, things escalate so quickly online
Yeah.
that people don't even realize what's happening
Right.
until it's too late.
They hit send and then they're like,
Oops.
oh, right.
Exactly.
So, yeah, being able to step back, to think critically, to communicate effectively, those are all really important skills.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and it sounds like this incident really highlights the need for open dialogue,
Absolutely.
right? And for proactive measures to address these challenges.
Yeah, we can't just wait for these things to happen
Right.
and then react.
Right, we need to be ahead of the curve.
We do. We really do.
Wow. Well, this has been a truly fascinating conversation.
I've enjoyed it.
I've learned a lot. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, as always, we encourage you to keep digging,
Keep asking questions.
keep asking questions, form your own conclusions.
There's always more to the story.
There's always more to the story.
than what you see on the surface.
Exactly. And in this case, it seems like there's a whole lot more beneath the surface.
Yeah, definitely.
So until next time, stay curious out there.
Stay curious. Stay CH